What the heck was that? What's up, guys, and welcome to my E3 2019 review video, where I'm going to be basically reviewing each of the press conferences from my least favorite to my favorite, talking about the theme that they had for their conference, their pacing, their announcements, what they needed to accomplish. I think that my ranking may surprise you. I'm going to start with my least favorite and build up to my favorite, just talking about highlights and lowlights of each. This is not going to be a recap of each conference. The video is going to be long enough as is. As I'm sure you guys noticed, E3 this year felt really light. It was pretty disappointing. The theme of E3 was, that's coming out in 2020, there's no gameplay to show, and it was a little bit frustrating as a viewer. So let's get into it, starting with my seventh, my least favorite conference, and that was Ubisoft. Ubisoft is in a little bit of a weird place right now because of how they make their games. Their games as service, that is what they do. So naturally, all of their press conferences, kind of from now on, are going to have a very samey feel. Here's the newest update to Siege. Here's the newest update to The Division. Here's the newest Assassin's Creed update. It's going to feel a lot like a lot of DLC and expansions and trying to get people back and trying to win people over. And that's not particularly exciting, especially for E3. So Ubisoft opened the conference with Watch Dogs Legion, Watch Dogs 3, taking place in London. All the rumors about that were correct. However, it is not coming until March. I like the gimmick that you can play as any of the NPCs. That was pretty interesting to me. And the world and the gameplay seemed, okay. And then 26 minutes passed, and they were still talking about Watch Dogs 3. It was exciting, I'm sure, for people who liked Watch Dogs, but as somebody who thinks it's interesting, might pick it up later down the line, definitely not interested in it at launch, I'm a little bit torn about them spending so much time on it. However, it had a good showing. Something else that I believe had a good showing was Rainbow Six Quarantine. So this game is the PvE to what Rainbow Six Siege is to the PvP, and I thought that that was an awesome line and an awesome way to explain what they're trying to do with this game. This is the squad-based Rainbow Six that we're more used to from the older games, and I really, really like that. Like I said, I think the way that they broke that down in a very simple level was awesome, and I'm very excited to play this game. Tom Clancy's Elite Squad Mobile was a huge miss for me. This E3 in general had a lot of mobile games, and it was frankly a little concerning how many mobile games and subscriptions and streaming services are coming our way soon. But this just looked like a greatest hits of all the Tom Clancy characters and worlds put together into a mobile game. I don't ever want to see this game ever again. Next up was Roller Champions. This game seems like the trend that Ubisoft does. What's really popular right now? Let's do that. And the difference with Ubisoft doing that and a lot of other companies is Ubisoft tends to do a very good job with their games. When they try their games as services, even ones that aren't the biggest hits like For Honor and honestly Rainbow Six Siege at launch, they work with it. They keep, melding and molding basically until it's a success. And I think when they know that it's not going to be like Skull and Bones, they wait and they work with it and really try to make a hit, a home run. So Roller Champions is, to me, an Overwatch Rocket League style situation. I believe it's 4 versus 4, I don't remember exactly, but it had these crazy colorful characters and these vibrant outfits, and I think you can play a demo of the game right now, and it's available at E3, so I'm interested to hear more about this. I do wish that, once again, the reveal had a bunch of gameplay, because that's what I'm interested in. And like I said, there is a lot of lacking gameplay from these conferences in 2019. Next up, everybody's got to get in on the subscription services. Uplay Plus is coming. It's, I believe, 15. This seems important. I think it's $14.99. I'm pretty sure that's right. They have over 100 titles. I think it's launching on PC. And I couldn't care less about this. Finally, they showed off Gods and Monsters, and this game looked awesome. This was definitely the thing I was most interested in, and it seems like a more mythology-based Breath of the Wild. The trailer was definitely very reminiscent of Breath of the Wild. I believe there's some gameplay going on at E3. I'm excited to check it out. And it's coming in February 2020, which is way sooner than I thought it would for how they revealed that game. So very excited for that one. Would love to see more. Once again, would have loved to see gameplay on the stage, but, you know, what can we do? So with Ubisoft at my number 7, number 6 is going to go to Bethesda. Why are you guys cheering for me? All I said was Bethesda. Oh gosh. So this press conference felt like they put all their employees and all their fans right up front to scream for whatever they announced. And for half the show, the things that they were announced were either bad or not interesting at all, but everybody was going crazy, and it just felt so disingenuous. So they started addressing Fallout 76. I was shocked that they would go into that as much as they did, but once I realized that they had all these people screaming for them, I was like, oh, okay, it makes sense why they would do this now, because they think it's making them look good. They announced, I believe, Wastelanders, which is a huge expansion coming for free. That's good. They need to do that kind of stuff. They're doing a free-to-play, like, weekend or week. That's good. They need to do that kind of stuff. And they're doing a battle royale that looks fairly interesting. I don't think they needed to spend that much time on it, but once we see some of the other stuff that they showed off, oh my gosh, I don't even know why they had a press conference this year. A big theme of their press conference was mobile games. They had the Commander Keen mobile game. They had Elder Scrolls Blades, and they were talking about how successful and awesome that game is. Elder Scrolls Blades is not awesome. It is microtransaction ridden. It's everything I hate about the mobile game market. All these cooldowns and timers and things that you can't get around. I do not like that stuff. So the fact that they were boasting about it so much, and then they're like, and now you can do all that garbage on Switch. It was so frustrating to me. They also announced their own streaming service. I believe it was Orion. Again, I can just bundle all the streaming services together. The only one I'm sort of interested in is xCloud and Microsoft, and we'll see how that works. But I just don't believe in the streaming future. The internet in the middle of the United States is not great, and I just don't think we're going to be able to support it with the infrastructure that we have now. Latency is a big deal. If you die once or twice to any sort of latency or delay, people are going to be mad at these services. Like, that's all it's going to take. So I can't knock it until I try it, but I am not very hopeful for these streaming services panning out, at least right now. There was very few shining stars in this conference. Doom Eternal does look awesome. It's coming November 22nd. I'm excited about that. We've seen so much of Doom already, though. There wasn't anything that was too shocking to me. The two biggest spots here were Deathloop, which only had a tone piece trailer, but it was a tone piece trailer done correctly. If you're going to reveal your game cinematically, this is the exact way you want to do it. And speaking of the exact way you want to do it, setting the tone, Ghostwire was by far the best thing that they showed. I'm so excited for that. I was expecting Evil Within 3, but I'm way happier with this. And my camera died. I'm sorry about that. Coming in at my 5th conference, that is Microsoft. Pretty low on this list, and it's interesting why it's that low. I think that they had a good show. I think that this was worse than last year, but definitely not bad in any way, shape, or form. Their problem was they needed to blow this out of the water. They had the most expectations. They were talking up their show like they were gonna do something crazy, and they didn't really do much of anything. In fact, they did less than last year. I don't understand what they were thinking. Even if they just did teases for each of their studios that they bought and maybe what they're doing, even if they did that for half of the studios, something like, why do we need an Xbox? That's what you needed to prove. You had, no competition this year. You could have shown off your console. You could have shown off the Scarlet. Instead, you chose just to talk about it. I feel like they were hurt the most by what happened before E3. So before E3, Sony casually revealed that, we're not going to have load times. Here's a video of that. oh, it's going to be completely backwards compatible, it's going to be solid state, it's going to use a custom AMD chip, all this stuff. And then Microsoft basically came out and said the same things in a video. And the problem with doing that was now it was sort of expected. Like, we expected more, but they sort of just said the same stuff Sony said, which is good, except we already know that stuff from Sony, so I feel like it deflated this announcement a lot. And the second announcement that I think hugely got deflated was the George R.R. Martin FromSoft game. That trailer was super underwhelming, and I feel like that's because people were anticipating it. People kind of knew that it was real from the leaks, and if that showed up and nobody knew about it, people would have lost their minds. But because people knew about it, it was sort of like, oh, where's the gameplay? And that was really the theme and why I was most disappointed with Microsoft's conference. Despite them having two great announcements and the best moment of E3, which was the Keanu Reeves reveal. So they had Jedi Fallen Order, which actually looks pretty good. Graphically, it definitely leaves much to be desired to me, but I am totally down for like a more linear, single-player Star Wars game that has a cool story and cool set pieces. If this can be like the Uncharted 1 or the Tomb Raider for Star Wars, that is more than enough for me. And it actually got me excited. And I think that this trailer, this reveal, was better than what EA did at their own show. Because after watching that, I was iffy on it. After watching the Xbox trailer that they had, I was like, you know what? I'm going to play this. They had Battletoads. It looks a little bit like a Flash game, but I don't think this is supposed to be some big, immaculate game. I know they have Ori and things like that, so it's a little weird to see them do this style. That being said, I don't think they put a date on it. I don't even think they put a year. But last year they said 2019, so I'm a little bit confused about that. I'm a little bit worried about that, but I guess we'll just have to see. Ninja Theory revealed what they've been working on, which is Bleeding Edge. This is something that I believe they've been wanting to do for a long time, and it's actually a really cool idea. The gameplay looked awesome. The problem is I'm not sure there's a market for it. So this is sort of their Overwatch style game, except it's heavily melee focused, so a lot of people would think like For Honor, but think less tactical melee and more arcadey. Like if you could fight each other in Devil May Cry or in Heavenly Sword, it feels more like that, or at least that's the vibe I'm getting from it. But I don't know how many people want to play something like that. And that also sounds like you can just get paired up with a group of people who are really going to destroy you, and it's not going to be very fun. So we'll have to see. I'm interested in it. I love Ninja Theory. I think all of their games really have been good. So I have hope for this one, but the fact that it is so multiplayer focused does worry me. They purchased Double Fine. This was, and I think is, a bigger announcement than people realize. Double Fine has a lot of IP and a lot of things that they put out a lot of games. I was shocked. I saw the Psychonauts shirt right in the beginning. I was like, oh, we're going to see Psychonauts too. Cool. But it didn't even cross my mind that they might purchase Double Fine. The Keanu Reeves moment in Cyberpunk 2077. I went from being meh on this game, not really caring, to being like, day one, pre-ordered, can't wait to play. I love Keanu Reeves. I'm not one of those people who's coming out of the woodwork recently being like, oh, I've always loved him. No, he's in like 6 of my favorite 10 movies. I absolutely love the man. So this was an instant pre-order moment for me. And the way they let him just go out there, they're like, you know, be as energetic as you want, say what you want, have fun. All you need to do is make sure you say our game name, say our company, and give the release date. Go for it, Keanu. We trust you. That was awesome, and definitely the best moment of E3 2019 overall. And the next huge reveal that they had was that Phantasy Star 2 Online is finally coming to the West. I believe there's tweets from 2013 of them talking about this happening, and it just never happened. People have played on, there's Japanese servers with specific like English-speaking players who do all these roundabout ways to get online to play this game. I've been wanting to play it for so long, I've been waiting for so long, and I was so happy when they revealed this. This and the Cyberpunk were by far my 2 favorite announcements from Microsoft. Good job. That's awesome. And it seems like this is going to be exclusive for quite a while. And the problem is, all this was in the first quarter-ish, like the end of the first quarter of the conference, and then there was a huge lull for basically the rest of the conference. Then they did the Lego reveal with Horizons that there's not a new Forza game this year, which is cool. They're giving it a break probably to put it on the Scarlet. But they had a way too long trailer for Forza. They had a horrible trailer for Gears 5. If that trailer was the reveal trailer last year, okay. But this game is coming out in months, and you didn't show any gameplay. What's the problem? What's wrong with this game? Now, I have seen gameplay from the E3 show floor, and it looks like a Gears game, as expected. They showed gameplay last year. Yes, that's true. But this trailer didn't do anything. I don't know. I'm just a little bit frustrated with all of the no gameplay this year, if you couldn't tell. That game is coming out in literal months. What does it look like? Elden Ring was next. This is what I was talking about earlier. The George R.R. Martin FromSoft collaboration. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. I'm sure it's going to be great. This trailer didn't do anything to help. They may as well have just said, FromSoft, George R.R. Martin, coming, 2020 or whatever, coming later. And I would have been just as excited as I was for how they revealed this game. They talked a little bit, and I really mean a little bit, about xCloud. Now, xCloud's their huge streaming initiative, and I'm hearing good reports from it off the show floor, which is great. But this is coming, once again, in October, and I would have liked more information about it and how it's working and all this stuff. This is going to be a huge platform for them, and maybe just a little bit more time and information would have been nice. Finally, they talked about the Scarlet. Like I said, it was a bunch of, it does the same stuff that Sony's thing does that they announced the other week. So that wasn't good. But then they dropped a bombshell. It's launching with Halo Infinite. I actually think it might be called the Xbox Infinite. That's just kind of a guess. But it's launching with Halo Infinite. That's cool. Let's see that gameplay. Let's see what the Scarlet looks like. I'm so excited. Oh, it's a CG trailer. It doesn't look that good, to be honest. Cyberpunk looked way better than this game looks, and that's coming to the old-gen hardware. What was this? Once again, I learned basically nothing more than I knew going into this conference. As far as the Microsoft stuff goes, there was cool third-party things. But as far as the Microsoft stuff goes, I don't feel like I know much more than I did going in, and that's really disappointing. I'm parched. Whew. Next up, number 4 on my list, the Kinda Funny Games Showcase. So this was a little bit surprising, and the reason that this one's on my list and some of the other things later on is gameplay. They showed gameplay for awesome games that I want to play, and that's what I want out of E3. They showed over 60 games, and even if there was a couple of them that I was like, I have no interest in this seems bad, whatever, the trailers were quick. You were watching it for 30 seconds and you were on to the next thing. So even if I hated 2 or 3 things in a row, the next thing up I might really like, and it makes up for that kind of lost time. So this one's pretty easy. The format of it was great. The pacing was pretty good. There was a couple spots here or there. I actually wish it was a little bit longer to let a couple of games breathe a little bit more. But I understand that they were going before Square, and they couldn't make the press conference or the game showcase, as they call it, too long because it would run into Squares, and that would be a huge issue. Another complaint that I have is some of them were narrated, some of them weren't, and then some of them were narrated by Greg. I would have liked at least all the ones narrated by Greg to be sort of together in a group, and then the other narrations, and then the ones that don't have narration, just to keep it flowing a little bit, because it was jarring, hearing Greg read something, hearing nothing, hearing somebody else read something, hearing Greg read something. That was a little bit Fling to the Finish really caught my eye. This is one where you're basically playing as a ball, and somebody else is playing as another ball, and you have a chain connecting you, and you're trying to use momentum to, throw each other forward to get to the finish line. It seems awesome. It seems like a great party game or just a co-op game, and I'd be very excited to hear more about this. Brave Earth Prologue is a Castlevania 3 style game from the developer of I Want to Be the Guy. It looked a lot like Indie Crate's Bloodstained game, but that being said, that was a great game. This looks like Castlevania 3. Very excited to check it out and play it. Looking for Heals seemed like a cool twist on a dungeon crawler-esque game where you're more controlling the units, like just sort of telling them what to do, and then you're playing the support for that character, healing them up and making sure that they're all good and strategizing correctly. Skatebird honestly looked a little iffy to me, but the name caught my attention. That's an awesome name for a game. And if I saw some more gameplay, I'd be down. I do miss the Tony Hawk style skateboarding games. We're not getting Skate 4 apparently. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 was a disaster. So anything helps. Undying is another zombie apocalypse story where the main character gets bitten and has to take care of this child. It's a very familiar story. I like those stories. I'm not the biggest zombie guy, but I do like the stories when they're about the characters, and this seems to be that. It looked really good, and I'm excited to play it. If you were to tell me that a game called Raw Men would be one of my favorite games from E3 2019, I probably would have said, yeah, that sounds about right. Raw Men is Splatoon with food, basically. You're hitting people with raw fish, you're splattering people with sauces, they're not wearing clothes for some reason. I don't know. It looked awesome. I can't wait for this game. Oh my gosh, it looks like a blast. And my favorite game reveal from the Kinda Funny showcase was Super Lineal, I believe it was called. And this is a perspective-based puzzle game where you see an object, you're standing close to it, it's huge, you back up a little bit and it makes it smaller, and then you can grab that object and it stays the size that it was in that perspective that you had when you grabbed it. So you could see a dollhouse, you can get close to it, and it becomes huge. It was exciting kind of seeing the mechanics and how it will play out. Definitely get vibes of like Portal and The Witness. Very, very cool first-person puzzle game. This was kind of by far the game that floored me the most that they had at the showcase. Kinda Funny showcase comes in at number 4. Like I said, just having constant games, a good flow of them, and being able to dismiss ones that I'm like, that wasn't great, for ones that I really, really like. They kept interweaving that. There was something for everybody, and it did exactly what it wanted to do, which was highlight the indie games. If I was an indie developer, I'd much rather have my game at the Kinda Funny showcase rather than Microsoft or Sony. Nintendo, I think, does a good job at showing off their games, but I just think that it felt like those games were loved coming from Kinda Funny, whereas they feel like an afterthought at some of the bigger press conferences. My number 3 is the big N, Nintendo. I know a lot of people are putting Nintendo at number 1, and I really feel like that's just the Nintendo thing that happens. People give bumps to Nintendo games, all the stuff. It is very obvious that happens. People just love Nintendo, and that's totally fine. I just didn't feel that way. I was very disappointed by this conference. It didn't do the things that I wanted it to do. To me, this conference was supposed to be the one that actually makes 2019 more exciting. We know what we're getting from a lot of developers in 2019. Microsoft didn't seem to have too many other cool things to show off for 2019. Games that I thought were 2019, like Ori or Battletoads, may not or are not coming out in 2019. But at least Nintendo's there to give me my Animal Crossing and my Luigi's Mansion and all this stuff coming in 2019, right? Wrong. So they showed off Astral Chain. That looked awesome. The gameplay looks great. I hope that this is an awesome Platinum game. Sometimes Platinum games are a little bit iffy, and sometimes they're absolutely amazing. I don't know where this one can fall. It could be either or for me right now still, but I have this one pre-ordered. I'm excited to play it, and I was glad to see more of it. Panzer Dragoon is getting a remake. That was cool. I'm glad that they're going back to the classics, going back to what they know works. I think that that's a smart move. That collection of mana games seemed awesome. I'm so glad that finally they're bringing a game that hasn't come out in the West here, similar to Phantasy Star Online. That was a perfect announcement, in my opinion. Also, it came out, I believe, that day, and it's getting a physical release in August. Thumbs up for all those reveals. Witcher 3 is coming to the Switch, and it is all fitting on that one cart. One cart comes with a bunch of goodies, Witcher 3. What are other developers doing? They worked with that courthouse to make sure they got all of this stuff onto the cart. Why is Spyro a download? Why is, I believe, Crash Bandicoot a download? Wolfenstein a download? Doom's a download? Come on, guys. CD Projekt Red is making you all look horrible. Link's Awakening's coming out in September. It looks so good. The original reveal trailer I was super excited for, and then after seeing this, I'm just blown away. And I think the European Steelbook is the best Steelbook I've ever seen for a game. It's just literally an old Game Boy with the Link's Awakening home screen. Like, that is so cool. Smash got 2 character announcements, which wasn't very surprising. One of them was the Dragon Quest hero. That's who I thought it was going to be. Whatever, I'm fine with that. That's cool. It's a little disappointing because he is just another guy with a sword with spiky hair. He seems a lot like the Fire Emblem characters and Link and stuff. And it just stinks because these new characters have a chance to be so crazy cool. And this one doesn't seem it. Now, we did get a little tease that his attacks could be menu-based, and I'm thinking maybe you can do that, and maybe they're a little bit stronger if you do the menu-based style or something along those lines. That's cool. That's awesome. But overall, I was a little bit disappointed with this reveal. That being said, I'm glad it's here. There's so many Dragon Quest fans that are going to be so happy about this, and have at it, you guys. But not to worry, because they had another Smash reveal. So the rumor was that we were going to get Joker, we're going to get the Dragon Quest hero, and we're going to get a Microsoft character. And that Microsoft character was still in the works, but it was probably going to be Minecraft Steve. So I was super happy to learn that the Microsoft character apparently is Banjo-Kazooie. Obviously, he looks fantastic. Simon Belmont looks so good. Mega Man looks so good. And Banjo-Kazooie looks so good. The only thing that I didn't love about both Smash reveals was they've been doing these cool trailers where they get like an invitation letter that lets them into Smash, and they kind of make you think it's something else, and then it turns out it's Smash. Both of these trailers started knowing that they were Smash reveals, and I feel like that lessened them a little bit. Like, why didn't they have the Dragon Quest trailer air first, and then have like a CG-ish cutscene, and it turns out it's a Smash reveal? You could have done a really cool one for Banjo-Kazooie. Like, even if you think back to Simon Belmont's reveal, it seemed like it was a Luigi's Mansion thing. Isabelle, it seemed like it was Animal Crossing. Persona, we thought it was just like a trailer for Persona Q2, and then it turned out to be Smash. I love that kind of stuff, and we didn't get any of that. We knew both of those were Smash reveals right at the start, and that's a little bit disappointing. Speaking of disappointing, what was with that Resident Evil trailer? Let's go into a spooky mansion and play a spooky game. This was a very odd one. I don't think this needed to be an E3 reveal at all. Sticking with the theme of disappointment, Animal Crossing New Horizons got revealed, and oh gosh, it's coming in 2020. Not only that, it's coming right on top of Final Fantasy VII and Cyberpunk and Watch Dogs and all these other games. And the fact that Animal Crossing is a game that doesn't really end, you just kind of play it, means that I now might not get this game at launch because I'll be too busy playing the other games. That being said, the game looks phenomenal, and I like that you're making an entire town, or basically, as opposed to just your house, but I can't help but be really disappointed. I wish they came out a few months ago and were like, hey guys, look, Animal Crossing is not going to make it in 2019. Stay tuned, we'll give you more information, but like the game's not coming this year. Instead, I assumed, as did everybody, that this game was going to hit 2019. So that was a huge blow to me and this conference that the game isn't going to be ready. Luigi's Mansion 3 got a trailer, and this was a really good breakdown of the game. It takes place in a hotel. They showed off some of the gameplay. Awesome. There's a new Goo Luigi. He seems cool, but then there's also full multiplayer. I'm getting a little bit worried about Nintendo putting multiplayer in everything they do. At the end, they revealed it's coming in 2019. You don't have a release date for this game yet. You announced this game so long ago. I thought it was a shoo-in for October, but now I'm a little bit worried, and I'm thinking this may actually be the December game. I'm not sure. Finally, they ended the show with something that I feel like they really didn't need to do. It felt like they knew that they had a light show. It felt like they knew they had some disappointment, and they wanted to do a make good. And that is that Breath of the Wild is getting a direct sequel. Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time is really the last time that they did what they're doing here. Taking the assets and the engine of one game, kind of rearranging it and tweaking it, and making a brand new game in a short amount of time. And it does look like the darker version of Breath of the Wild. And I loved Breath of the Wild. It's my favorite open world game. And I'm somebody who doesn't like open world games, and despite wearing my $2 Zelda shirt right now, I'm not the biggest Zelda fan. That being said, I don't want this game. I want a brand new Zelda. I think that there's some magic in that game that's just not going to be tapped into twice, and I would rather them just do something brand new, different art style like they like to do with the newer Zelda games. I really don't want a direct sequel. It just felt like a little bit of a cheap tack-on trick to make people freak out about this conference when they have a pretty bad track record at announcing things that are far away. Bayonetta 3 is nowhere to be seen. Metroid Prime 4 had to be scrapped and rebooted. Animal Crossing isn't going to hit its time. Nintendo's conference to me disappointed me more than it excited me, even though they had a lot of great games and great reveals. I think the pacing was a little bit iffy. I think it was one of the worst paced Nintendo Directs that they've done. And the Doug Bowser joke was really funny. That was cool. Let's move into my number 2, which is Devolver Digital. I absolutely loved Devolver Digital's press conference this year. They didn't have much, it wasn't super long, but it stuck on theme and it just rode its momentum all the way through the entire conference, and I enjoyed every minute of it. They started out making jokes about how they always do these faux live press conferences, etc., and what's the new hotness. That's Devolver's MO. They always kind of make fun of the gaming industry and the current trends around it, and then they just do that, and people pay money for it. And they did just that. They made a fake Nintendo Direct style presentation, and it was awesome and hilarious. More importantly, I think I'm going to talk about every game that they revealed because I want to play every single one of them. So they started with Fall Guys, which is kind of like Goofy Ninja Warrior Battle Royale. It's like putting 100 people on the Ninja Warrior course at once and being like, who can get to the end first? That sounds awesome. I'm hearing reports from E3 that it is super fun to play. I'm very excited for this. They also showed off the Devolver Bootleg Launcher. This is sort of like their Epic Store. Basically, you download it and you get your games on. They made the joke that when you go to download it, it just forwards you to Steam, and that's a little bit weird. And then you get to play games that are ripoffs of their games. Hotline Milwaukee, Enter the Gun Dungeon, Castlevania. I thought this was really cute. The game seemed pretty fun. And this is exactly what I want out of a Devolver conference, and they did not disappoint. They revealed Carrion, which was a Metroidvania where instead of being the hero and destroying monsters on the spaceship, you're the monster who's destroying the humans that are on the spaceship. This seemed like a really unique idea. I loved the pixel art. It looked so good, and I can't wait for this one to come out. Of course, they're going to cash in on this new arcade trend, and they made their own arcade cabinet. Enter the Gungeon House of the Gun Dead is a light gun shooter arcade cabinet. I was super excited when they announced this. I thought it was going to be more like the 1-Up arcades, something sort of affordable and smaller. No, this is a full $5,000 arcade cabinet. So unfortunately, I won't be getting this one, but I did check the pre-order page because I did want it. The Messenger, which was the loved game from last year, is getting some free DLC. Picnic Panic is a very vibrant and colorful expansion for the game. That game's awesome. I'm sure this expansion is just as awesome. And they showed more from My Friend Pedro, which is a game that I've been looking at for a long time, and it's coming out very soon. The conference was short. It was sweet, it was to the point, it was funny, and it did what it wanted to do. And they showed gameplay for all their stuff, and it got me excited about it. That's a good conference in my eyes. Don't overstay your welcome, don't make me bored. And that's why Devolver Digital was my number 2. So let's move into my number 1, Square Enix. So Square Enix was awesome this year. They blew the lid off Final Fantasy VII to open up the show, and they showed us gameplay. They explained it. They explained how big the game is going to be, that it's going to be multiple parts. This is the Midgar part of the game, and it looked awesome. They revealed Tifa. She looks great. The voice acting is really cool. I love how they talk back and forth in the middle of fights. The kind of the snarkiness and quippiness that they have feels perfect. Oh my gosh. And then, to top it off, it's playable at E3, and everybody's saying it's awesome. I love the combat system. Your bread and butter kind of gets you to your special moves, and then you use those, finding weaknesses to stagger the opponent, similar to Final Fantasy XIII, and being able to switch characters on the fly. This was so awesome. On top of that, it's coming in March, which is super exciting. I think that is a good time for that game. They also revealed Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, which is the DLC. We've known about this DLC, but we finally saw it in action. We got an idea of where and what it is, and I'm super stoked. I don't want to go into it too much because it is, the 10th game in a franchise, and this DLC is wrapping up a story that they've been doing for a long time, but it gets a thumbs up from me, and I'm very excited for it. Outriders was revealed. This was a tone piece that I thought was really, really awesome. Once again, sort of like, Deathloop? Sort of like that. It sort of seems like Borderlands, but more realistic, and I'm totally down for that. They did a deep dive afterwards where they showed a little bit of gameplay. I would have liked to see more gameplay. That's one of the complaints that I do have about this. Like, if you have some gameplay that you're showing off screen, just show us that. Final Fantasy VIII Remastered is finally here. People have been asking for this forever. The rumor was that they lost all the code to this game, or at least part of it, so that if they ever remastered it, they'd have to rebuild it and do some reconstruction of the game. And it seems like that may have been what they've done. If you look at side-by-side comparisons, the game does look significantly better than its original release. I'm very excited to play this. I hope it has all the bells and whistles of the Final Fantasy VII PS4 port, where they make it so that you can shut off random battles and make yourself basically unstoppable and just kind of experience the story. They did fill in the show with a bunch of little announcements here and there, things that we already knew about. Life is Strange 2, Octopath Traveler coming to PC, and it's out now, I believe. The fact that they put their music everywhere. All this stuff is little fillers that were after big announcements, which I feel like is okay because it gives you time to breathe and take in those big announcements, rather than having too much information shoved down your throat. I absolutely loved the presentation of this. It was actually my favorite presentation out of all of them. The fact that they had the picture frames so you knew about how many announcements there were going to be, and sometimes they'd zoom past one and you'd be like, oh, there's at least one more announcement, there's at least two more announcements. I thought that was awesome, and I think it'd be cool if they stuck with that for the future, as well as having this live audience that felt genuine and like they were actually excited about the things that they were announcing. That was awesome. So let's talk a little bit about the bad of it. Yes, they did some mobile announcements that I was not thrilled with. The Final Fantasy Brave Exodus stuff, it's weird that that's a mobile game and then they're putting out another mobile game. I thought that might be a cool Switch game or something like that they were announcing. Nope, it's just a second mobile game for you to play. Okay, whatever, I guess. The biggest disappointment here was Avengers, for sure. And the main reason is we don't know what that game is. I wish that they didn't announce that it was going to be at the show, because I think that drove expectations that made people go, where's Avengers, where's Avengers, where's Avengers? And when they did finally get to it, I feel like it left a lot of people disappointed. Mostly because they didn't show any gameplay and they didn't really explain what the game was. They showed their characters, which is, it's a little uncanny, it's a little weird seeing, not the MCU characters. People will get over that after a little while. Like, that I'm not worried about. But the fact that I don't know how you play this game, is this just 4 people teaming up and like going through a linear level, sort of like a beat 'em up? Is this like a Destiny-style online game? You're saying you're adding all this content. Coming out, talking like that, saying that there's not going to be loot boxes, promising people the things that they're scared of aren't going to be there, is exactly what games like Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem did. I think this game is going to be bad, you guys. I think it's going to have a really rough launch, and I think people are not going to be happy. They seem super secretive. That being said, it's playable at the show floor. I haven't heard any reports about it yet, so maybe I'm wrong, but it's not a good look to reveal a game, give it a release date, not show gameplay, and not even explain clearly what the game is, especially when you did such a good job with Final Fantasy VII, which is coming out just a month before this. I could see this being a style game where whenever one of the MCU movies comes out, that's around the time they do an update for it. It gets people back in, and I can totally see that working. It's going to have a built-in community because it's Marvel, and that's really good for it. But I'm just scared that they're hiding something, that something's not all there with this game, and I'm a little bit worried. I don't know why I talked about the bad at the press conference at the end, leaving it on a little bit of a sour note, but Square was my favorite conference. It got me the most excited. If you take the Keanu Reeves moment out of Microsoft's conference, I was never as excited or as engaged with any of the conferences as I was with Square. Yeah, overall, E3 this year, just a little bit of a bummer, a little bit depressing. You could really feel the impact of Sony not being there, but in the same time, I totally get why Sony wasn't there. It felt like a lot of these companies shouldn't have been there this year. All their stuff that they wanted to show were 2020 games. I still enjoyed my time with it. I'm not like angry or furious that this E3 wasn't great. You're going to have some rough ones. There's a new console launch coming next year for multiple consoles and Stadia included. So there's stuff coming, and I'm excited to see all of that. This video went on way longer than I thought it was going to. That's okay. Let me know what you guys thought of E3 this year. What were your favorite reveals? Rank your conferences and give me your favorite moment and tell me why it was Keanu Reeves. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Kevin McManus, and I'll speak with you next time.